Hi, this is Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society. Today we're located to the west of the entry gates to the Oak Hall Correctional Institution in Fitchburg along Highway M, close to the village of Oregon. As people whiz by on Highway M, they may not even notice the small brown sign indicating that this is the site of St. Mary's Cemetery. This is a surprise tale to be told, revealing what was once on this small patch of land. The Irish pioneers who settled in Fitchburg made the care of their spiritual needs an important priority. The Catholic faith predominated in this group of people. As early as 1844, the pioneer Fox and Kinney families began having priests say masses in their log cabins. These priests came from Milwaukee, as well as Sauk City and Roxbury, north of Madison. In 1850, the small St. Raphael's Catholic Church was built in Madison. So most of the baptisms, marriages, and funerals of Fitchburg Catholics were performed there until they were able to build their own church on this site in 1857. This 2-acre site was deeded to the Milwaukee Diocese for the forming of a new Catholic parish by Brian Barney McClin and his wife Anne, for consideration of just $1. At that time, Fitchburg was in the Diocese of Milwaukee. Barney McClin owned the land around the property he deeded to the diocese, and he had a log cabin home across the road near Lake Barney, which received its name from Barney McClin. The church, a small frame building, was built at a cost of $4,825 and was blessed on August 8, 1857 by Bishop Henry of Milwaukee and named Holy Mother of Consolation. A house for the priest was built near the church, and then beyond that a barn for the pastor's horse and buggy. The remaining land was used as a cemetery. The first pastor was Reverend Hugh McMahon, with parishioners coming from Dunn Township to the east, Rutland and Oregon to the south, as well as from Fitchburg. We're fortunate enough to have a map of the church grounds and cemetery, so we can take a look at where the buildings and the cemetery were located. So let's take a look at where the buildings were located on this 2-acre site. So this is the approximate spot where the church was located. The church was located right behind me and was approximately 55 feet from the road. Its dimensions were 30 feet wide and 60 feet long. So if you look behind me, it's about the width of 2 of those wooden fences. That would be about the back of the church location. The front of the church had an arched entrance and wooden doors. And now we'll go over to where the parsonage, where the priest lived, is located. So the parsonage, or the priest's home, was to the west of the church, so further back on the property, about 110 feet from the road, and it had a front porch. And then on the east edge of the property, so behind the church and the parsonage, and over in this direction, far edge of the property, was a barn where the priest kept his horse and buggy, a place for that. And then I want to also point out the Fitchburg Historical Society has left a marker here to mark this as an historical location in the city of Fitchburg. The social life of the parish appears to have been vibrant. One indication was a festival held on Monday night, January 6, 1868, for the benefit of the Catholic Church, with a good supper and music by the Evansville Band. Price of admission was $2 per couple. My great-grandfather, Cornelius O'Brien, is listed on the festival ticket as one of the managers of the event. He was a young, unmarried man of 28 at the time. He was probably looking forward to spending time getting to know some of the eligible young ladies of the area. By 1882, the congregation had already outgrown the small frame church. Both the church and the rectory were in need of extensive repairs. In addition, more space was needed for cemetery expansion, and there was no adjacent land to purchase. Strong disagreements took place between the parishioners who wanted to rebuild on this site and those who wanted a new location. After 3 years of division among the parishioners, the pastor, Father Knox, was in favor of moving to a new and larger location. This is the account from Father Knox, quote, "The old church, until now occupied by the Catholic people of this Holy Mother Consolation Parish, was built about 40 years ago. The old structure has been falling into decay of late years, and in view of the approaching necessity of procuring a new place of worship, considerable anxiety has prevailed as to the selection of the most desirable place for the erection of the new church. After a full and vocal discussion was given to the matter, several votes were taken without arriving at any satisfactory results. Some wanted the church in the old site, others desired and demanded a change, preferring one in or near the village of Oregon, for various and apparent reasons. Finally, a vote was taken on Sunday, April 12, 1885, all over 21 years allowed to vote, with the result being nearly 3-1 in favor of securing a piece of property in or near Oregon and building a church thereon." End of quote. Oregon had been incorporated into a village in 1883 and had a population of 581. The move caused a split in the congregation, with some families choosing to travel to Madison to attend services. In 1885, Father Knox arranged the purchase of 5 acres on Main Street in Oregon for the price of $650. The new church, Holy Mother of Consolation, was dedicated in September of 1886, marking the end of the old church located here in Fitchburg and beginning the new one in Oregon. The original church in Fitchburg was dismantled in 1891, and the material used to build a residence on the Edward Byrne farm on Wayland Road Hill. The staircase was made from the old choir loft stairs, and the banister for the house came from part of the church's communion rail. The parsonage, back here, was bought by James Carey and moved to a location a half-mile south of Oregon to be used as a residence. So now we're going to visit Old St. Mary's Cemetery. Early burials of deceased members of the Fitchburg community are said to have taken place on family farms, with bodies later being moved to cemeteries as they became available. St. Mary's Cemetery served as the Catholic cemetery for many Fitchburg residents from 1857 to 1898. The other pioneer cemetery in Fitchburg is the Oak Hall Cemetery, also along Highway M, and a few miles west of St. Mary's Cemetery. Only 4 tombstones remain at Old St. Mary's Cemetery, with the family names here, like Burke and Cole and Murphy. A flag is placed at the grave of John Murphy, who was a Civil War veteran. Corporal Murphy was the son of John and Johanna Murphy from County Cork, Ireland. He enlisted at Madison on December 9, 1861, in Company F, 2nd Wisconsin Cavalry. He was mustered out November 15, 1865, in Hempstead, Texas, and returned by steamer and rail via New Orleans and Cairo, Illinois, arriving back in Madison December 11, 1865. So he was really gone the total duration of the Civil War. He died in 1887 at the age of 45 and is buried with his parents. New cemetery grounds were purchased on the north end of Oregon along County MM in 1898, and again named St. Mary's Cemetery, the new St. Mary's Cemetery, where we're located right now. The first burial was of Fitchburg Irishman Daniel Cullen in October of 1898, and his grave is located here. Some of the bodies of the old St. Mary's Cemetery on Highway M were moved to Oregon or Madison, but others remain there, even though the crumbling gravestones that were no longer being able to be read were removed in 1970. My great-great-grandfather, Michael Berry, for example, born in 1812 and died in 1890, would have been one of those whose body was removed from the old St. Mary's and moved to the new cemetery here in Oregon, and this is his gravestone. Many others are scattered throughout the cemetery grounds with Irish names such as Byrne, Purcell, Sweeney, Kerwin, and Whalen. Holy Mother of Consolation Catholic Church, now located in Oregon, has a rich early history in Fitchburg. From 1857 to 1886, the primarily Irish members of the church worshiped and socialized in Fitchburg. The evidence of their once vibrant presence is now a 2-acre site known as the Old St. Mary's Cemetery, located right here. They leave behind their mark on the community through their descendants and places that still echo throughout Fitchburg. Whalen and Kane Roads, Burnwood, O'Brien Solar Farms, Berry Stables, Lake Barney. We celebrate their faith, stories, and heritage.